Thank you for attending today. Our focus today is to talk about our product, which is called AutovationAR. It was designed to help Napa jobbers specifically. All right, Clark, if you would advance to the next slide. So today's agenda is pretty simple. We're going to keep it around 25 or so minutes. We're going to talk a little bit about the criteria that was requested by the Napa jobbers for us to build AutovationAR. Give you a brief overview of who Paper Solutions is. We're going to kind of discuss AutovationAR, specifically invoices and statements, regardless of whether you use a system like Dart or you just live in TAMS or you have some other accounts receivable solution. And then Clark is going to demonstrate AutovationAR, and we're going to add some more information about features and functionalities that are built into the product that down the road, if you would like to do business with us, you may use them. And we'll go through a few questions and answers. All right, Clark. All righty, everybody. This is just some of the highlights of what we were asked to create a couple years ago. So interesting enough, we didn't have to create this. This is something that Paperless has always been doing, is the timely support for any related software issues. That, believe it or not, was the #1 request by the Napa jobbers we worked with, is they just could not get timely support. And then the second of them was, even one jobber said, simple enough that a 10-year-old can find the information. They want to be able to store and retrieve the signed customer invoices quickly. Ability to email your customers the invoices the same day. And a choice. Do you want to email the invoices or statements or both, and configure it for each individual customer? And the billing needs to be pretty simple. So there you go. We'll see if we hit on all those today. All right. A little bit about Paper Solutions. We're located right outside of Philadelphia in a place called Bensalem, PA. So they've been around for actually 22 years almost. It was founded based on being able to do customized software solutions. And ever since then, the company's been going strong. So I won't read everything to you, but when you really look at it, we deal with two major softwares. One is Highland OnBase, which is more of an enterprise software, which was really designed for the local and state government level. And then we do Square 9 SoftWorks. That's actually what we built AutovationAR on. So we're both certified in it. We received numerous awards, and I think you'll find that the product does what we will represent it to do. So there you go, a little bit about Paperless. All right, as I mentioned earlier, AutovationAR is only done for accounts receivable. So I hope you guys see the invoice that's here, and it should look the same. Every Napa jobber we work with, they get their invoices directly out of TAMS along with their statements. And this is what the invoices look like. But I want to draw your eye to the far right-hand side where you'll see invoice number. It looks like a barcode. Now, that is a feature that is enabled within TAMS. It can be horizontal like this, or it can be placed vertically on an invoice. But we use that barcode to anchor on to this invoice so that you can do searching and retrieving of it later. So if you don't have it, it's not a big deal. It's like just a little button in TAMS that you can turn on. But it's important that we sit here, and if you move forward and like our solution, we will be making sure we use the barcode on the invoices. So as a recap, everything on that invoice that you're looking at is searchable. Actually, it's called text searching. So once it's scanned in and we read it, you can pull it up, obviously, by the invoice number. You can pull it by name, a customer number. You can even pull it by an amount. And it's all stored in our Amazon cloud. We also, for the jobbers that like to work or have worked in ProLink, we have a product called, is basically our self-service. Not a great creative name, Well, we do not integrate with ProLink, so we built our own. And so therefore it's done a real good job for us. Now, at this screen right here, you'll see from the customer self-service side is you'll see the circles and the arrows, the invoice number. So your customers can search by invoice number and search by date. If they bought something or had something delivered from a particular store, they can search by that number, or their unique customer ID that you've already set up with that they have that's actually located in TAMS. So that's kind of what it looks like. It is an optional service. You don't have to use it, but if you do, it works just fine, but it's called self-service. All right, Clark, thank you. All right, last year we were asked to kind of put together kind of an architectural schematic of how it works. Obviously, no one at Paperless is really a someone that draws for a living, but this represents what we're trying to get at. So everybody asks, well, how do we do it? And this is kind of a simple diagram. If you see, it starts with TAMS. This is where we get your statements from. You don't ever scan your statements. We pull them directly out of TAMS for you. And then once a customer signs their invoices, they can be scanned at your locations. They can be either scanned individually, or you can put them all together in one batch and scan them at the end of the day. And that all goes into AutovationAR. And then we marry them up. So this is just a basic representation of how it works. This is what we've designed. And now we've been going on a couple of years using it. We have several jobbers, plenty actually, that use it. And it keeps evolving. But this is exactly as the title says, this is how the magic happens. All right, Clark.
All right, well, it's time for me to take over. My name is Clark Barlow. I do most of the sales for the Napa customers that we have. I'm gonna just hop out of this PowerPoint and hop into the software. So this is the reason most of y'all probably came today. So this is the first piece of AutovationAR, and it's called Global Search. And this is where you're gonna search for your invoices and statements, print them, email them, all that fun stuff. And I'm gonna show you how to do that now. So to get started, you simply just go over to the AR invoice magnifying glass, click on the magnifying glass, go to browse AR invoice, and then this is where you're going to build your results list. This is very self-explanatory, but just to go over it, you can use as many of these fields as you want. If you just want to type in one invoice number, you can do that as well. And one other nice feature is the keyword. So if you wanted to look up like an oil filters invoices or a specific part, you can do that as well. For this example, I'm just going to type in the customer name, type in budget, and click Run Search. As you can see, everything under the customer name contains the word budget. To look at an invoice, all you got to do is double click. It doesn't matter where you do it within the row, as long as it's within the row. And in a few short seconds, you'll see that the invoice pops up. Like Glenn was talking about, it reads the barcode and it actually reads everything on the invoice. So you'll see that the invoice number matches, the invoice date matches. So that way, when you go to search for your invoices in the fields, when you scan the invoice, that's how the system reads all the information. You can also click the ellipsis here to print your invoices, email your invoices as well. But overall, this is what the invoices look like when you click on them. And like we said, the index fields are already filled out for you, which is very important for you to be able to store the information and look for it. Moving on, if some nice small features here, if you wanted to email an invoice, you would click the invoice that you want to email. You can click as many as you would like. If you want to select all of them, you select that box. For this example, I'm just going to email out one. Click the actions drop down, go to email, no annotations, and invoice number. So I just like to make sure that everyone knows that we have an amazing training team our implementation team does a lot of training. So don't feel like you have to write down every single note here. We will always walk you through any questions you have about the system. But back to this, you'll see that the attachment here, it has the invoice number. It's a PDF and it contains the invoice number that I selected. You do have to pop in the email address, but besides, go. Some other nice features are you can sort each column, you can remove it, move it left to the right, sort from descending, ascending, whatever you'd like to do. And that covers this area of AutovationAR. I'm going to go over to the customer statements as well. It's also very straightforward, if not even more straightforward than the invoices. Like I said before, you just type in whatever you're looking for and then run that search. Since I didn't type in anything, all of our statements in the system are going to pop up. I'm going to double click on the one I want to look at. And as Glenn mentioned before, we pull all these statements right out of TAMS. So I'm sure that you're used to seeing these quite frequently. And just like the invoices, you'll see over here on the right with the index fields, it's all filled out for you. And that pretty much covers everything you need to know about global search. Moving on to the next piece of AutovationAR is the NAPA dataset management tool. This is the most important piece to AutovationAR because the more email addresses you have, the better the system is. And the reason that is the more emails you have, the more customers you're sending your invoices and statements, which means you'll have less customers asking you for their invoices and statements. And at the end of the month, you won't have to physically mail out as many statements, which is always good, especially with how expensive postage is these days. But just to get into how we store your customers' emails, we use the customer ID, the store number, the email address, of course. Then this is where it gets a little bit more interesting, the email status and email frequency. So just to show you how it works, you go over to create new. I'm sure you already have some numbers set up for your customers. So I'm just going to make up some numbers for the sake of example. And then for the email address, I'm just going to make one up for myself. And then the email status, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. You're going to select none, both, invoices, or statements. Best case scenario is going to be both because that means your customers are receiving the invoices and statements, and there's a lesser likely chance they're going to call you or communicate with you needing that stuff, which will slow down your business. And then invoice frequency, this is completely up to your customer. Some customers are going to want to be on top of their invoices. Every single invoice you scan, they'll get emailed the invoice within an hour. But some people may not, some of our customers realize that their customers don't like always receiving the invoices after every scan because you can get a lot of emails. So we also made a weekly and monthly feature. The cool thing about the monthly feature is at the end of the month, when we send your customers their statements, they'll also get a second attachment within that email. And the second attachment is going to have all the invoices for that month. So they get one attachment with the statement, one attachment with all the invoices for that month. And that's something that we got requests from our customers. So that's why we added it into the system because a lot of people seem to like that feature. And then overall, you can look up the email addresses as well. As you notice, I just typed in the word Yahoo, and the email address I just typed in came up. Even though I didn't write Clark Barlow at Yahoo, the fact that I just typed in the word Yahoo, it popped up. And then if you had a customer who was receiving invoices monthly or both, and they reach out to you and say, hey, we're getting them monthly, we want to get them daily now, you just simply click edit. You would go to the email status, or I'm sorry, email frequency, and change it to daily and save. And overall, that like Glenn said, we try to make it so easy a 10-year-old could use it. It's a very simple, basic system, but it really streamlines your accounts receivable. Takes a lot of time off your hands doing that busy work of mailing and scanning statements when you don't have to. So overall, that is what the system is like. And with that, I'll hand it back off to Glenn.
Thank you, Clark. Good job. Very self-explanatory. All right, as I mentioned when we started, there are some other features that are built into AutovationAR. Now, these are modular features. You don't have to take advantage of them, but it's something to consider as your business grows. One of them is for tax documents compliance, W-9, reseller tax certificates, tax exempt certificates. Kind of a neat feature. It allows you to make sure that you stay on top of your garages, places like that have the reseller certificate on file. Built in is document capture automation. That basically allows us to capture any type of document, whether it's in columns like structured, semi-structured, or free-form documents. You can set up workflows. A lot of times that is about hiring people and things of this nature. And we have the ability to create any type of electronic form. So as your business grows, you'll be able to move along with it with the features and functionalities with the AR automation platform. All right, Clark. And the last one here is for HR management. This came as a request because a lot of people are hiring people. So you have one central repository. This is probably a very popular feature. I know it is within Square 9. And so everything from personal time off to keeping all the hiring documents, and unfortunately, everything is kept here. So it's a neat place, a neat repository, should you have a need for keeping track of everything from your hiring people. So there you go. That's pretty much about it. That covers. Did I miss anything, Clark?
No.
All right. Well, here's some information. I know Clark will follow up with you here in the next day or so, but if you need to get a hold of them or want to get a hold of them immediately, it's Clark Barlow at cbarlow@paperlessus.com, and you can copy the phone number down. So again, thank you for attending today's webinar. We appreciate it. If you have any questions, please reach out to us.